guys, I put up a quick question in one of the Facebook groups asking if anyone had any tutorial requests, and I got a request for the Grinch hand holding an ornament. So I just downloaded this image from Google. I couldn't find a really high resolution image, so this will be good to show you that you can use quite a low resolution image. Now this image came quite small, so you can see it sort of looks alright small, but what I find better and easier to do is to make it big so that I can see the detail while I'm working on it, and then I can make it smaller again for when I'm ready to cut later if I need to. So we're going to end up with this sort of image over here where we've got the green layer, the white layer, and the red layer, all on top of a black layer. So first of all, I'm going to hit the Z key and zoom in on the Grinch hand. And I'm going to use the trace tool, and we're going to select trace area. Now the Grinch hand is interesting because we actually don't want smooth lines, because his hand is, in the movies anyway, and I think in the original picture book, his hands are furry, and so you sort of want this like rough edge, but this is hard to work with. So what I pretty much always bring the scale down to 4. It makes the lines smoother as opposed to pixelated. So while we still want this rough texture, we don't actually want pixelated lines. So I drag the scale down to 4, but I don't really have enough of this detail picked up, and this is going to be a bit time consuming to fix up. So I'm going to increase my high pass filter, and I'm going to increase this up to about 15, 12, let's see, 15 is pretty good. We've got most of the black outline captured. We've got a lot of the detail in his hand captured. But we actually don't want too many small spots, because if you make this small, if you're going to cut this out only a couple of inches wide, you can't have too much tiny detail. It will just get lost in the cutting. And so what we want to do is get the effect of this textured hand without having too many teeny tiny cuts. So high pass is on 15, threshold's 45, and scale is 4. So I'm going to select trace. I'm going to zoom out one, and I'm going to drag the picture away to the side. And I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller so that I can keep an eye on it as my visual aid. So now we've got this outline, and it's all currently one image. So what I'm going to do is right click and release compound path. This breaks all of the lines up into their individual parts. So it looks kind of scary at first, but it's alright, we're going to break it down. So the first bit's the easiest, and we're going to go over and do the red. If you were going to cut this out really small, I would recommend zooming in on each piece and just straightening up some of the lines. So you double click on an image and it brings up the point edit tool, or you can click edit points. If I was going to cut this out really small, I would hold the shift key down and I would select some of these points. See, they're all in a relatively straight line. But we're going to make it easier for the cameo to cut, and we're going to select all those points, right click and delete. And see how it gives you a nice straight line? So the cameo is going to go straight down here, around the corner, straight down, and then again you could, holding the shift key down, you could select all these points down here. It doesn't have to be super accurate. And then delete points, and we've made that a straight line too. I'm going to do this as if we're going to cut it out quite large, like to go on a poster or a chalkboard. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to leave it lumpy, because it adds to the Grinch sort of character, I think. So next we're going to do the green of his fingers. So we're going to fill in the main body of his hand first. We're going to go up here to the fill tool and the eyedropper, and we're going to select the green of the image. We're going to do the same for his 3 other fingers. We're going to just, holding shift key down, select all of those, and using the eyedropper tool, select the same color. There's a few other bits we want to make green. These little holes here, again, if you're going to cut it small, I would just delete them. If you're going to cut it out quite large, I would hold shift key and select these 3 points, fill them in green, and then just for ease later, I'll go to Control G and group them together. Again, if you're cutting it out small though, I'd just delete them because it doesn't change the image too much. But if you're cutting it out large, it's some nice little extra detail. This little point down here, I'm going to delete. I don't think it's necessary. You could make it green, you could delete it. Really depends on your use for this image. And then I'm going to fill in the outline in black. So we're already getting pretty close, really. His ruffle, or sleeve cuff, I guess. We're going to select both those two pieces and we're going to fill them in white. And just for ease, I'm going to group them together as well. And the last step is to deal with some of this detail we've got here that we actually want to cut out of the green layer so that the black layer shows through. So hit the Z key again and zoom in nice and close. We've got some tiny little dots here. This one here, I'm just going to delete. It's too small. It's never going to cut out. It's just going to look like a little dot on the vinyl. It's going to look weird. So I'm deleting those, but I'm left with these 5 little ones and then one relatively large chunk up here. Now you could go through and you could click on each one, but it's actually kind of difficult to click on each one. So the easier way for me to do it anyway is to click and drag and select everything here. And then go through with the shift key and unselect the big areas that I don't want, which is much easier than trying to select the small areas that I do want. You can do it either way, but it's just a little shortcut I found. So then I didn't have to go through and individually click on these 5 pieces. I just selected everything and quickly unselected the big groups. So then we're going to click subtract, and so that's going to subtract the top red images, or the red lines, from the green layer, which we've also got selected. Subtract. So now they'll cut out, and you'll be left with the black layer underneath. So that's actually the image done. I'm going to add registration marks. One last thing too, it's personal preference, but over here you could leave this with a black outline of his sleeve, or you could just grab the knife tool and with it set on straight and holding the shift key down, you could just click and drag and cut a perfectly straight line all the way down, and then just select these excess pieces and you're left with a clean image, like no black outline on that side of the image. I'm going to set up my registration marks, which just makes layering easier. Sometimes I eyeball it. Again, it depends on what you're using the image for. Sometimes I would eyeball it, other times I like to use registration marks. So I've just drawn 2 squares, just align them to top to make it easier, and then I group them together. Then, zoomed out, I select the registration marks and the white layer, which we grouped together earlier, and I control and I tap the up arrow, and it duplicates the image up, and then I group those together. We're going to do the same with the red image. Click the registration marks, and we're going to copy and paste. Control C and Control V. Bring that over here and group that together as well. And then we're going to do the green layer. So we've got the green of his hand, we've got his fingers, and remember these 3 little dots in here as well. So just select all of your green points. Select your registration marks again, copy and paste, bring them up here, and we're going to group that all together. The reason I like doing this is if you accidentally pick up the wrong bits or you accidentally select extra pieces, you can just delete them from here and you haven't messed with your original image. So once you're sure you've got those 3 layers all right, I just select everything down here and then unselect the black outline layer, and now we've got everything except the black outline layer, and we hit delete, and then we group this together. So now we've got our black layer, our red layer, our white layer, and our green layer. And if you want to check that your registration marks and your layers are all set up correctly, highlight all 4 of them, click align left, and then align top, and all like snaps back into place. And it's all ready for you to pull apart, ready to cut, or keep it layered so that you can see visually how it all goes together. So again, I'll just put those all left and top. And the last thing to do would be to create an ornament. You might already have an ornament. You could always trace an ornament. I'm going to show you how to really quickly just create one from scratch because it's pretty basic shapes. And we're going to do a little bit of welding and a little bit of grouping, and I'll show you how I would do it. So I'm going to make an ornament shape, which is using the circle tool. And if you hold down shift, you stop being able to make ellipses and it makes it a perfect circle. So I'm just going to eyeball the size. You could do whatever size you like, or you could put a monogram on the inside, whatever you like. So I've got the circle there, and then I'm going to eyeball and I'm going to make a rectangle on top, and about like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'll show you how to clean it up in a second. We're going to make a circle on top of that, which is where you tie the string into, and then we're going to make a circle on top of that. That's the hole for where the string goes. Now obviously this looks a bit weird. It's a bit wonky. So all you do is you select your 4 shapes that we've just made, and we go align center. And this is under the horizontally. You can see they're all lined up in the middle there. So you just click that and it aligns them up. And then we're going to select our 2 circles on top, and we're going to click align center. So now we've sort of got an ornament shape. We're just going to clean it up a little bit more. And we're going to select the outside circle here, the rectangle and the body of the ornament. We're going to go up to the modify window, and we're going to click weld. And that joins them all together and makes that one cut outline. And then I want to have my ornament hanging from a piece of string too. So I'm going to drag it down a little bit. If you just put a line, it's just going to cut a slice, a single slice in your vinyl. So what you actually want to do is draw a small rectangle. Like this. And again, when you draw it, doesn't have to be in the center because we're going to select them both in a second. And we're going to click align to center under the align tool again. And then with the rectangle and the outside of the ornament selected, we're going to go again up into the modify tool and we're going to click weld. And now we've got, for ease too, I would then select both the outside and the inside circle, and I would click make compound path, which makes this into a donut shape rather than a circle on top of a circle. And then we can fill this in to check it's all looking right, and we've got a purple ornament. Or you could fill it in black, or whatever you wanted to cut it out of. So I hope that was useful. Let me know if anything was unclear. Put any requests in the comments. I'm always happy to try and image out and show you how I do it. There are about 1 million ways to do everything in this program, so if you've got a different way that works for you, then that's excellent. But I hope this helped someone. Have a lovely day. Bye.